All right, check to see. It says we're live.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you sending it to your Facebook?
I'm doing it right now.
Mhm. All right, family, we're just going to make sure that we're on Facebook. Um, and we are live on YouTube. Just give us a second or two. I was going to go check your Facebook page, but I can't. How we doing?
Give me a second.
Mm-hmm. No worries. So give people time to get on YouTube. And we are going live on Facebook as well.
Not Sandy yet. Hold on.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Lots of stuff going on. Indeed. Do you see it live on YouTube?
Give me a second.
Okay. So you're saying, be quiet, I got this.
Oh, I don't think you're connected, but I don't think you got it. Well, okay. You're connected. You want to make a title? Okay. Wait, just put like episode 2. Okay. It's loading, so give it a second, but now it should be live. So redo your screen. You may check from my phone. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're ready.
We good?
We're good.
All right, here we go. Just jumped away from my.
To the Black Independent, where we speak truth to power, unapologetically.
For too long, the black vote has been treated like a given, but we're not property. We're not pawns. We are the descendants of those who built this nation. And now, we're demanding tangibles, not tokenism, because the era of blind loyalty is over. This is the Black Independent. Let's get to work.
Hello, everybody. How are you, Mona?
I'm doing well today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I just have to smile because we're getting there. We're getting there. So you guys be patient with us because we're running our own show. And I think we're getting there, though.
We're getting there.
All
And I mean,
right.
look,
So
we should, maybe by the end of September we should be there because we're doing it twice a week now. But
yeah.
I don't know. Every time on my end, I was like, okay, now what am I supposed to do? Because I have sticky notes all over this desk.
Well, as soon as I get back on the Facebook and hopefully I can get back in, yeah, I've been suspended, family. As soon as I can get back on, if I get back on, then I'll also be sending it to my Facebook page as well. And you can even go from my Facebook page. But here we are. Here we are. So, welcome everybody to episode 10 of the Black Independent. Erasing Our Streets, the fight over Black history and public art. That's what we're talking about tonight. So I'm Jeanette Bradley, your co-host, and I'm joined by Mona Judge, also co-host. But before we get started, if you don't mind, we're building our community on YouTube. So if you really don't mind hitting that like button and subscribe so you can get notification anytime we post. As Mona said, we're trying to post twice a week. And if you're joining us tonight, feel free to share with your friends and family. All right, so today, Mona and I are talking about something happening right here in Florida, but it's also happening across the country. The state ordered the removal of street art. So in Tampa, the colorful crosswalks to classroom murals. Have you seen those?
I have.
Okay.
Now, was it our state or was it our president?
Well, it's a combination of the two. Everything our president does, our governor tries to outdo and be the first state to do it. So right now, we're trying to move the colorful crosswalks to classroom murals. They're being erased. And in St. Pete, the Black History Matters mural painted in front of the Carter G. Woodson African American Museum is also being painted over as we speak, folks. These weren't just decorations. They came out of the George Floyd protests in 2020. Moments of pain and also moments of hope where communities said, we're here, we matter, and we deserve to be safe. So now the state says these murals have to go.
Who said that?
Well, DeSantis, they have to go.
Who said no? When we was during the time we was doing all of that, we got encouragement from the top. President Biden.
We did.
Stood before us promising healing.
Yeah, it was the mood of the country. I think the mood of the country, and if you recall, the mood of the world was it's kind of like we finally had an ear from white folks that video, that phone video that young woman took of George Floyd's murder resonated with a whole lot of folks. And we got things like that, like this, where people were trying to use symbols to demonstrate their support. So now that the state says these murals have to go, and he's calling them unsafe and non-standard, at the very same time, Donald Trump, to your point, Donald Trump is directing attorneys to review exhibits at the Smithsonian to remove depictions of Black history that aren't uplifting. So they kind of believe anything in the museums that show Black history or what happened in America's history that had to do with Black folks is not uplifting and should be removed. So you put that together and you can see a much bigger picture forming. This is not about paint on a street or a single museum exhibit. It's about who gets to decide what history is told, what stories are erased, and what our children grow up seeing. And let's be real, that matters deeply to us as Black people. So history tells us that these things don't happen in isolation. Before the Holocaust, if you guys know history, before the Holocaust, the German government slowly erased Jewish people from the public life, starting with their stories, their art, and public memory. So we have to ask, what can we do right now to make sure our history stays visible and our stories continue to be told in America?
How do you think that look? Because we, as when you said the Holocaust, and when the Jews got back on their feet around the world, they start fighting for dignity, power, and policies.
Yeah,
we do. Our problems, and I like. You know Quentin Robinson, right?
I do.
And I like him. I like what he said. And I didn't really understand what he used to say a couple of years ago. Yeah, what they say, if it ain't policy, it ain't going to stick. And that's my thing. I mean, we like stuff to look good. We like um, we're too emotional.
Symbols.
We're too
We're symbols.
emotional, and they
Yeah.
can do anything to us. And I can remember when this stuff was happening all over, um, and I didn't participate in any of them, right? Because I was like, okay, so what does this mean, and what does it prove?
Yeah.
Okay, I had another one. Okay, this one right here. Actually, the Black Business Bus Tour, all of us was here when this was going on because it was in Washington for the
Ah,
50th anniversary.
so that's the
Um,
plaza.
that's the plaza.
DC.
Yeah. And like right here, I think was the Hyatt, because I mean, literally, we could walk out of our hotel, go to the left, and maybe a few steps, there was the
Mhm.
plaza. And we, we were everybody was caught up into it. Everybody was fighting, hoping that Biden would do, what he said he was going to do. He was making all kind of promises, and now that we realize, with a stroke of a pen, stroke of a brush,
Yeah.
everything could be removed.
Yeah. And that's what's happening.
It was never rooted in power and policy. And
It
we let him go. We gave him a pass because we should have made him do what he said he was going to do.
Yeah. I'm going to say that it was America. It wasn't just a party, it was both parties that I think used symbolism to placate.
Oh, sure.
Because even at that time, this is what really disturbs a whole lot of folks.
Mhm.
Speaking of symbolism, when the Democrats put on the kente cloth and knelt, that was very offensive to a whole lot of people.
Well, I did like this. It's like, oh my God, what the heck?
So to your point, Black folks, we have to get beyond symbolism. We have to make sure that both parties realize that we're not looking for that anymore. We're looking for substance, and we'll name what that substance is. And I think that's what we're trying to do now with the Black independent movement, is to say we are independent of the Democrats and the Republicans, and now we have our own issues. Now there is overlap with the parties. There's likely overlap with both parties. Right now, I'm not sure what the Republicans are doing, but I'm pretty sure there's overlap with the Democrats, but we will not be taken for granted, I think, going forward. And that's all we're saying at this point. So
we shouldn't. And like you said, this is why I believe that the Black independents matter, because both parties have used us as political currents. They put us in posters. They use us to help them get elected.
That's true. That's true. And
I don't know why much smarter people, like councils or any of these people, haven't figured this out.
They figured it out.
What kind of political power do they have that they keep letting us being used like this? So the people at the bottom are going to have to figure it out and say no more.
Yeah, I think they figured it out, but they've decided that going along to get along was the best formula for us. And this slow, ever so slow, incremental improvement that we make is very painstaking. And at this point, as we're watching current President Trump, at the stroke of a pen, like you say, change things that have been in place for 50 or 60 years, we as Black people have to realize that really that's what it takes, a stroke of a pen. But we as Black folks also need to realize when that pen strikes, the person doing it has to have strong backing. And we as Black people have to decide, how do we come together and provide that safety net that allows somebody to make bold moves that are specific to Black folks. So, and I guess I want to say, this whole removal of the art is really, they're claiming it's about safety and it's about sort of neutrality. So it's not about Black lives or white lives or whoever's lives. It's about everybody being neutral. But we know
Yeah,
that
we know that's not true because it didn't just
exactly,
become safe last
exactly,
month. Is they're
exactly.
now been up what almost 4 years?
Yeah,
This stuff,
yeah.
these murals have been down for 4. When did it become unsafe?
Right, exactly. And that's one of the crucial things that we don't do enough. We don't question. You know, if they say it's safety and neutrality, okay, tell me exactly when did it become unsafe? And when you say neutrality, tell me why neutrality now is meaningful and it wasn't, let's say, 10 years, 20 years ago. There are clear reasons why being neutral on race right now makes absolutely no sense then and now. So Florida's Department of Transportation under Governor DeSantis is enforcing the rules to get rid of the murals on the streets right now. They're targeting any murals that are tied to Black history, the LGBTQ pride and student art, which tell about this tells us it's about politics and not necessarily about safety. So we know it's not about safety, it's not about neutrality, but it's all political. And I think that's what we need to be very clear on when we're communicating about this. So Trump's
where's the Democratic Party pushing back? Have you heard any? Because I haven't.
See, there you go.
Where's the Black Caucus?
You're asking all the right questions.
Where's the Black Caucus? Even if the Democratic Party isn't pushing back. Now I've heard a little from the LBG people push back a little, but I haven't really heard anything from.
I haven't heard anything from anybody actually.
Well, I did online.
Well, there were two bishops. There were two bishops that, in protest, went out and knelt on the Black History Matters mural in front of the Carter G. Woodson Center in St. Pete, and wasn't
he an LBG priest?
Like, I don't know. I would say likely, but I really don't know. So. Even
where are Black preachers? Where's the National Baptist Convention?
You're still asking all the right questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your everyday average citizen, Black voter, needs to be asking these questions. Why are we not protesting? And whatever way that looks like or feels like, there's no real concerted effort to say absolutely not. But even Trump's Smithsonian review shows it's not just local. So we're not just talking here, we're talking local. DeSantis just likes to get a jump on all the other states so that when he feels the wind is blowing a certain way, you can bet he's going to write some kind of order and send it down so he can say, Florida's really doing it first. You know, we're the deepest, reddest state ever. So I want to be president someday. So he's trying to jump the gun on a whole lot of what he thinks is coming down the pipeline because he's trying to make sure that he is more Trumpier than J.D. Vance when this term is up. So the bigger trend is clear.
And they're going to realize by time this term is up, the tide would change, and it tends to always do that. People are going to want to go back to the middle. So
I got it, but you know what?
Find stuff on the wrong side of history once again.
I can't say that I hope so. I will say that I don't think so. Because I think that there's about to be a shift in all of the parties. And if we're successful with Black people coming out of the parties and meeting under the independent banner and then becoming Black independents and looking at things like Malcolm X's 10 points that they made in terms of the Black agenda and look at other Black agendas and come up with about 5, we can do these things really fast, just like Trump, in 6 and 7 months, he's pretty much changed not just the United States, the entire world. Well, what's stopping Black people from doing things that are good for us? But so we have to ask, how do we?
What do you think is stopping us in 2025 when the book, the Teleton 10, they haven't figured it out yet?
Because there was a group of you like to call them boulets.
Mm-hmm.
There was this group that was established way back when that was assimilating into the white society in ways that were a step away from what was seen as negative in the Black community. And that continues to this day. So when we're saying we're going to walk away from the Democrats, and we're certainly not going to join the Republicans, but we're going to stand on our own 2 feet, and we're going to pay attention to our issues. Some of the issues that were even on the Black Panthers 10 points and some Black agendas, but definitely some of the issues will not sit well with that group. So we will still have a tough time even making the demands we need to make of this country.
Even that's the 10%. We could leave them there.
Well, we're going to have to. We're going to have to. Yeah, we're going to have to. So the bigger trend is clear. Symbols of equity and resistance from George Floyd era are just being rolled back. And to your question, we really have to do it because the people that are driving it, Governor DeSantis, he's not playing. He's not kidding.
No.
And people know that he's not playing. So we're watching people paint over these beautiful murals that were done out of our paint, in essence. So, and we know Trump's not playing. Trump is not kidding.
And the fight that when we was in the pain, I remember saying, we got to get more. We have to get laws put in place. Because of the pain, they allowed this, and they were just saying how beautiful it was. And we knew, I know what it was, when Blue Lives start saying, well, Blue Lives Matter. And I was like, what the hell? Yes, of course. But y'all like the one getting killed by us. Right. We're the one getting killed by you.
Yes.
White people aren't killing cops.
Yeah.
And what we needed was, policies.
What we needed is policies, but of course, policies are really difficult to get past. Okay.
At least he could have just.
I knew when I said that you were going to go, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But right now, the way that we have it, the executive orders are being passed, and Governor DeSantis in Florida and Trump across the nation, they are shaping national cultural policy, and it's moving away from Black. It's very anti-Black. So the broader movement, and they want spaces and cultural institutions scrubbed of anything that challenges the status quo. And so who's stepping up right now? Nobody's stepping up.
I could see in the next 8 years, we could almost be back in the dark ages. Where we just, literally, we were talking about this the other day.
Maybe not the dark ages, but definitely maybe around 40s, 50s. More sharecropping and maybe early 1900s. So I think the ultimate goal, what is it?
Books, how they're going to be removing our history is pretty much what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But so what's the goal? What are they trying to get to? So the removal of murals, the editing of the museum exhibits, the silencing of public memory.
Yes.
They want to control. The ultimate goal is, how do we control? So if I'm controlling how everyone sees the country, I can control them, and I think that we need to understand that. So if they can erase murals and rewrite museum exhibits, they can tell America's story without us in it, or with a version of us that's watered down. That's not just about today, it's about shaping what future generations are going to remember. I remember my grandmother, my great great grandmother. Her name was Martha Johnson. I used to hate to go to her house because we had to go to her house after school. Progress Village, we had to, my mom went to work. She was a stay-at-home mom. And then when we were here in Florida, she worked when my dad was in Vietnam. And we went to Progress Village and we had to walk home to my grandmother's house. And the one thing we all remember is she used to make us go get the switch off the tree that she was going to beat us with when we did something that we shouldn't. We had to go get the switch, and we had to choose, wait a minute. We had to choose wisely, because if that was too small, you got an even worse beat. I'm going to call it spanking, but back in the day, it was a beating.
Well, fortunately for us,
fortunately
for us, we hardly didn't get any spankings from my mom or my grandmother, right? Yeah. My mom used to, and particularly this switch thing, because when we would go to my other grandparents or my aunts, and we see that when the kids were good, like, dang, what the heck, Yeah, we wasn't used to that. But look, what if this goes on the way it is and nobody is fighting to try to stop it or slow it down? Can you imagine the stories that my daughter kids and their kids?
Yeah, exactly.
They won't know any of this stuff.
That's true. But the point I'm making,
I think that is exactly what they want.
Right. It is what they want. But the point I'm making, even with it wasn't my great great grandmother. I did not know my great great grandmother, but my great grandmother, she never talked about the stories.
No, it was too painful.
And my grandmother, she never talked about the stories, right? Neither of these two really shared with us. And even my mom, because we were Army brats and we were like traveling everywhere. My mother tells me today she's sheltered us from a lot of what was going on out in the world.
Well, why do you think that is?
The country.
Like my grandmother, she often talks about how they had to leave. I think it's Monticello up in Tallahassee somewhere.
Yeah, Monticello.
And she had 5 brothers at that time. And when she was born, her mother died during childbirth. So her father and them came here. And she talks a little about it, but I don't know that she knows much. I'm sure she doesn't know much about life there, but what her dad probably told her. And I can remember my grandfather as well. And but what she lived through just here in Tampa, the pain and the disrespect.
Yeah. The pain, the disrespect
that she did not want her children to go through. Because I can remember hearing them all the time when I used to go over now I'm probably 18, 19. And her, my uncle, her brother, and they sitting on the front porch and they swing. Like they never wanted their kids to clean white people homes.
Yeah.
They never wanted. And my grandmother, she was a barber, so she worked for herself. Her husband was a musician. So in our family, for the most part, we didn't have really jobs through the system. Mm-hmm. So, but I wonder why we don't tell those stories. Remember.
Yeah, because we didn't get them necessarily from our parents. And
are we ashamed? Or do we just forget?
It was shunned and it wasn't encouraged for Black folks to really, talk about it, I think. And they were trying to assimilate. I want to say that they were trying to get in their own lives and they wanted better for their kids. And it was always a forward. So I don't think that we as families passed enough. I love going through the old photographs with my mom. And she has this one picture, my brother at his birthday party, he was showing us old photos, and it was like, he says, "That's mom." She was like, I don't know, maybe a year old, if that. And it was the first time I've seen the picture. It's like, why is this the first time I've ever seen that picture? But we've got pictures of her as a teenager. And then she'll tell us stories around that, because they lived around K Street and how how she went to, anyway. The point is, we were not telling the stories. They were not telling us the stories. And now we don't have enough information to tell our own family stories. I'm just talking about the family stories.
I think we have to start here, because I remember when my daughter was born, and I says, "Oh man, had my father been alive, that would have been an awesome thing for her to know." So I tell her the stories of my dad. I really want to make a book and chronologize from my grandmother, her father, and then my dad, his mom, from what I know, and my aunts. We're trying to do that on my dad's side of the family, because we need to really be able to pass these stories on to the next generation.
Yeah, we do. We do. Yeah. But, the stories are sometimes in the art,
Sure.
In the absence of my getting stories from my great grandmother, and then my grandmother, and even my mom. The stories are in the art. So you got to wonder, what did the murals mean to the community? So when those murals were going up, and you see all the beautiful colors and what did that mean to us?
What did it mean? What did it mean to you?
But
did you feel something?
Yeah.
I think, I'm not gonna lie. I think when we got to Washington, this one here might have done, but here I really didn't really maybe feel it till we got here. And it was hundreds of thousands of people there.
But did you participate in any paintings of any of the murals? Because even the one in downtown Tampa, I came out
and we were supposed to do it with our CRA, and I don't know. I wasn't feeling it, because I wasn't feeling. I'm serious. I wasn't feeling it. I could remember. I think it was Fran Tate when they wanted us to come out, and because they did something. Maybe on Central somewhere. Was it Edison? They did one somewhere over there.
Yeah.
And we wanted people to come out and do it. And
yeah, I did it I went downtown, and it's over near the Perry Harvey Park, right there where the beautiful murals are. And that was quite an experience. But for me, and to the viewing audience as we're listening, I think what the murals did was made people feel seen, and they taught sort of civic pride, or they honored our presence. It made us feel like, okay, people are doing something and paying attention to us. So you see these murals just going up everywhere. Now, it takes us back to what we say pretty much every time we talk. The symbolism was thick in terms of what we were spending our energy doing.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that, yes, it felt really good. Okay. I was out there painting the murals.
We was being seen, but was we being heard? We wanted
the symbolism was thick.
Community, gone. We wanted police reform gone.
But you didn't get any of that, but you got some murals. So I love the murals.
For 4 years.
Yeah, I love the murals, and I think
now, like this, with a snap of a finger, is wiped away.
Right. So I'm saying I love the murals. I love what they represent. It's like art, in my opinion, and art is important in telling stories and reminding people. But they're saying that it's.
Our history has been erased, and nobody is really.
But you're saying that the history's being erased, but they're saying that that's not the point. The point right now of covering up these murals is about safety.
Well, you know that's bullshit, and you know.
Okay, but it is. But that's what they're saying.
Well, why are we taking out black art, black history out of museums? What is that about?
Good point. See, you're asking all the good questions tonight in terms of to the viewers. I just think that
Well, what safety is that? Is that safety that their kids get to go in, their people get to go in without feeling the guilt? Are
yeah,
they ancestors?
well, that one's the feel good one. Yes, that's the one that says you should go to a museum and walk away feeling inspired and great rather than feeling let down
And
because
some of them you do. And some of them you do. Some
right.
museums you do go in and feel inspired and great. I was on Facebook this morning, and because it's Labor Day, I saw this, and I was about to ask you, did you see that post? But we know you're kicked out of Facebook right now. And but I saw one where all the miners how they used to drop them down beneath the earth, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
In these little cages, and I mean they're in there like, um, I mean, unbelievable,
Yeah, I've seen
unbelievable, unbelievable. But then I thought to myself, and I don't always want to come back to that, but the first thing I thought to myself, imagine how our ancestors felt coming through the Middle Passage in the bowels of those ships. Shackled, the average passage over was probably 6 to 8 months, if not more. Not weeks, not months, weeks.
not many of them did not make it.
And most didn't make it. Not most, but we'll say maybe 10%, yes.
Yeah. Many did not.
It's so America history, for the most part, is
So it's
evil.
like
It's dark.
It is dark, especially as you say, America has a dark history. When the first Englishmen, I guess, hit the shores and claimed that they discovered America, they were out to take it over from the Indians, and sort of all the battles around that, where they pretty much distinguished them in terms of their numbers relative to everybody else. And then you have the slavery. It was all about war.
Yes, and it still is. Look, that was in the 1800s, no, the 1600s, probably the 1500s.
What was slavery?
No, when they first came to America and the Indians was here coming over slaughtering them.
Remember Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492?
1492, yeah. So, listen, it is still the same way today when you look at these countries that they're trying to take over now.
Yeah. I know, but they're taking over this country right now. They're taking it away from the people. It's happening in real time. And the question for us is, how do we respond? How do we as a community respond? Do we protest like the pastors did? I mentioned in St. Pete. Do we document, preserve? Do we keep telling the stories behind the murals? How do we build leverage so our history is protected for the long run? And the whitewashing takes us to what happened in Germany. I keep going back to, they started whitewashing way before they even started dealing with
Yeah.
removing the Jewish people.
Sure.
They were just turning society against them by banning their books and banning their literature books, and then of course banning their art. All of that started going away, and then they started putting made them wear a red band. I was going to say on their head, but a red band so that people could tell who was Jewish and who was not. They started separating them from the main society. And I think that we should not just passively listen to, oh yeah, they're painting over the murals. Oh, yep. And you know what? They're removing a lot of things out of the Smithsonian. Oh, and by the way, all of your leaders in these top spots, your generals and your governors at some point, and your people in high positions and your TV personalities, they're disappearing.
And right. That's the playbook. And I don't understand why we're not seeing it, why we're not pushing back against it, why we're not saying. Now, I don't know if the Black Caucus or the Democratic Party, and I'm not going to say the Democratic Party as a whole. I'm only talking about Black Americans right now. If they got something planned and we don't know about it, but no one is doing anything, and we're going to wake up and it's going to be too late.
Yeah, anytime there's been a movement of sort, real change, it was not led by the parties. Right. So it was not led by the parties. The parties are about status quo, right? Mm-hmm. Which party wins every 4 years, blah, 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 blah. It's about status quo. Change happens outside of the party, which means Black folks, because we are being extinguished on a day-to-day basis in real time within a 6-7 month period, we are losing steadily. It makes no sense for us to wait for the Democrats to say, oh no, we've got to do something about that. It makes absolutely no sense. And it has never, ever functioned that way in the past.
Or we can't wait for, and now I'm just talking about local. We can't wait for our talents and 10 to decide either. Because they're not. We're going to need people like.
But we've never waited.
We're going to need Fannie Lou Hamer. We're going to need people like
those
you and Burton.
And those were not the talented 10.
Right. You're going to need
those
people
so
same thing. People want to stay inside of that square. They're going to stay inside of the circle, and they're going to wait to master.
And they're going to wait.
And it just reminds me.
They're going to wait, and they're going to call you all kinds of names. Think about Martin Luther King. They're not going to be on your bandwagon. They're going to hate you. They're going to join with the larger population, and they will be against you. And your name will not go into history until like 20, 30 years later when somebody says, oh, you know what? We're freer, or we've got jobs and we've got this because of that action that we did not participate in. Or we pretend like we participated in it, but we really didn't. So I think that's the point that I'm making is it is not going to be the Democrats that rescue Black folks. Black folks will have to find their own way. And we can't wait for that special Martin Luther King to come out of the church, because he came out of the church, right?
Well, half of the church people wasn't really backing him either, but
that's true. But he came out of that understanding, and he moved in such a way that he surrounded himself with young people, students, what have you, and then they marched. So I think we have to find that that courage, if you will. The critical mass of us need to find that courage to step away from what's expected or the norm, the Democrat Party, and began moving and pushing an agenda that will resonate. Because I think, bottom line for me, if you take care of the least of these, and in this case, because I've showed you the race hierarchy, we're on the bottom We are perpetually on the bottom. If you take care of that bottom rung, you have literally taken care of everybody else. Right. So we have a responsibility to pull away from the organized status quo and to begin moving differently. We ain't marching, we're moving differently. So that's pretty much when we talk about how should we respond. We're telling you, here's what we think the response needs to be. You need to move away from trying to wait for the Democrats to solve the problem that you're facing.
Or wait till we get a green light. Because time you said that, the first thing came to mind locally, 568. I can remember when Connie first brought that up 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we was trying to get people on that movement. She was bringing it literally out of her own money, printing these sheets out, giving them to, and no one but one guy, Daryl, wanted to even touch it.
Yeah. But we had him on a couple.
The white man said it was okay. Everybody wanted to be on the committee.
Yeah, but the white man really
and that's our problem. And that's our problem. Now
we got
to solve that problem. We got to figure out how to solve that because we can't wait on them.
Right. The white man really hasn't said it's okay. It's once again, you've got this study.
He said it was okay for you to
study it
and form because before they didn't even want to look at it.
Yeah, form a committee and study it. Yes. But what's happening at the federal level? HR 40, form a committee and study it. That's all there is that we're doing. That is a game plan. That's a strategy. And the people who are on the committee, your studiers, are probably not the most equipped people to be taking that on.
True.
There's a lot of very
the heart of that committee
scholars who should be studying those problems. Not problem. I'm just gonna who should be studying that issue. So I hear you, but we have to do what you were doing earlier. For everything that I said, you asked a question. Well, why is that, or how is that? To get me to be more specific about what it is that I am saying. What do you mean by that word? Because we allow them to throw things at us that are so general and unspecified that we end up going nowhere. And I think that's what's happening with 568. It's certainly happening with HR 40. And if you notice that they're being very specific on the Smithsonian, and they're being very specific and moving very fast on the mural, and they're being very specific on a whole lot of things that are happening that typically take, I don't know, forever. So just pay attention, folks. Under the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, they're really meeting their own issues. It is designed to work exactly the way that it is working. It is not going to change. You're going to have to move differently, however you want to say that. So I'm going to take us back to the actions. They look a lot like they did before the Holocaust. And I want people to really draw that conclusion. Look at what is happening right now. Everything that is happening. And look how quiet and passive we are being as these things are happening. And that's exactly what the Germans did. They just allowed it to happen, and it happened over time. And they felt like, well, you're not talking about me, or, you know what, I'm going to be a little different. I'm different, or whatever it is that you think you have that's special, you're going to find out soon enough, it ain't so special. So the erasing, the revising, the sanitizing, we need to take a lesson from that.
Sure.
Because we know the Holocaust is real, and it definitely happened. And their goal was to create an Aryan society of white people of a certain bloodline, if you will, bloodline. Um, the white nationalists, that's their goal.
Sure, sure.
They believe that the United States of America is for white people. So I need you to keep that in mind. And it's one of the reasons why South Africans are welcomed here. And anybody else from any other place in Africa is not. So the erasure comes from oppression. If we don't fight to protect our history, somebody else is going to rewrite it for us, which is what happened after the Civil War, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the history that our kids learned in school, and it's why we don't seem to know anything, that things are happening to us that have happened in the past, and we think it's the first time this thing has ever happened. So what we can do politically, culturally, in schools and churches is to make sure Black history is always represented. And that's not to take away from anybody else's history. It becomes American history. Like
Why do we have to say that? Because in the Jewish community, I think from a certain age to middle school, they teach their culture. And they have school maybe on the weekends or something like that. And they used to have that. I remember we had some cousins living in New York,
right?
Black history on the weekends. And we keep saying we're going to do it. We're going to start it here, teaching our history and our culture to our children. I think everybody should know their history and their culture, along with everybody else's. But we definitely have to know our own. So I don't want to. I can remember when my daughter was coming up, I would always integrate everything really Black to her, right? Because I knew she would get everything else she needed in the world, in school. And I can remember when she went to kindergarten, she'd come home. I can't believe you never told me about Snow White. Like, yeah.
No. How dare you not tell her about Snow White?
Any of that stuff, because my dad didn't really tell us about that stuff either, right?
Well, I learned about it.
Yeah, she learned about it too in school. I
learned about it growing up. It was in the books that we read.
Oh, no, I didn't buy those books.
Yeah, I was an Army brat, excuse me. So we were doing things to make us good little citizens.
Yeah.
And there's so many patriotic.
That's understandable, but even then, I can remember coloring in. If the books didn't have Black faces, I would just color them in Black for her. Yeah, it's important.
You know what I must have colored. I must have used the brown crayon, I'm pretty sure. But they did do a good job. I think they do a good job of whiteizing Black families. So what happens if we don't do anything? If we keep going forward as if, you know what, everything's fine, I'm doing good, my kids are eating, and yeah, we're paying a little bit more, but everybody else is too. I'll be fine in the long run.
Well, we're not going to be fine. We're not going to be fine. None of us. And we really do believe, some people really do believe they're going to be okay, but we're not. We're going to start feeling the effects of a lot of this stuff next year, early next year.
Yeah, I think we will start feeling the effects next year. That is true. Already, you know, that number, that statistic is out there that 300,000 professional women have lost jobs. Black women have lost jobs.
Yes.
So, so we're going to see a lot more entrepreneurs. But the thing about that is folks aren't really going to have the discretionary incomes that they had.
They're going to have the money to support you.
Right. And loans are going to be very hard to come by, especially if you are Black. Your kids aren't going to really be able to afford to go to college because there will be no more student government loans that are easy to get. So there's a lot that's going to, and I think you're right, within the next year, but within the next 10 years, life as we know it today will change if we do nothing. So our children will grow up not knowing the full truth of our story, but it won't matter because they do need people in those fields picking those fruit and what have you. So they'll at least have that job, that kind of a job. So how do we turn this erasure into fuel for building stronger community and presence and power? And that's what I think we're not thinking about. It's not what we're doing.
Look,
I'd like to say, I'd like to think that that's what we're talking about, even on a local level. Because even as I listen to the politicians, every once in a while, I'll hear somebody refer to what's going on federally, but we're not paying attention to the fact that if we don't do anything, communities like East Tampa is going to continue to look like communities like East Tampa, and except white people will move in.
Yes, I was going to say no. East Tampa will not look the same.
Except white people will move in, and then we'll be moved to the fringes. And who's taking care of Black issues? Are Democrats taking care of the Black issues? Come on, that's the question. Are we going to rely on Democrats in this new environment that's emerging to take care of Black issues? Are you trusting that?
I'm not. I think we now, by talking about all the painting over the mural, look, we need to paint a new path forward. And that new path, in my opinion, and your opinion, is us becoming Black independence. And we are, for the most part, will still be rooted in the Democratic Party, but we will be looking for substance.
Right.
One rooted in power.
Right.
We have some power that we have when we really look at the budgets for the city and the county, that our communities are receiving a decent percentage of that budget.
Right.
That we're not just paying taxes.
Hoping, please.
Right. Yes, that we're just not existing in a community, that we're not thriving. That's a problem.
Yeah. So, I think the only thing I think we both want to encourage is we have to rely on ourselves, which means we have to come together, and we have to step aside from both parties, actually. Both parties. And we have to look at what are the pressing issues in the Black community. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you do some research, you're going to find they were talking about these issues back in Martin Luther King's day and Malcolm X, and probably you'll find something with W.E.B. Du Bois and all of Marcus Garvey, all of them. Look at what they were saying. Compare it to 2025 and what we are saying. And what you're going to find is that not very much has changed in terms of the need of the Black man. It is pretty much the same thing. Find those 5 issues. And one of them is repair, folks. For those of you who think that African Americans or people, Black Americans that have ancestry here in this country, that has got to be one of the issues. And if it's not, then I'm not sure what to say, because we're so far behind by design. We are so far behind that some minimum wage job for many of us, or even these jobs where we think we have something, will never get you on parity with your counterparts. So even Oprah, who is wealthy and a millionaire, when you compare her to her counterparts, she ain't making no money comparatively. If I compare myself to people who are similarly situated with me, they are making, and I did this when I was in corporate America, they were making more money than me. So how is that? And how do we understand that I can't compare myself to a millionaire, but I can compare myself to my white counterparts who have the same education that I do, have the same background, the same experience, and it's going to be 9 times out of 10, they are making way more money than me. Ask Shador. Ask Shador Sanders.
Yeah.
And if you don't
Well,
understand
we
what's
don't have
happening,
to ask anybody because we already know that. We already know that we
then
and
do
some
something about it.
and sometimes we can have a higher education, a higher position,
Oh,
and someone beneath us is making more money. So we know that.
correct.
To be
That's
true.
correct. That's correct. So I'm saying Democrats are not going to help you with those things that are going to impact your day-to-day lives on the level that it needs to. You're going to have to move differently, move aside, then go back in as a Black independent and say, and here are what our issues are. Now let's talk about the issues and let's figure out what candidate you ought to be running. Because if you aren't running the candidate that respects our issues, then we cannot support you.
We can't support because if we're gonna sit and they'll say, "Oh, see, I don't have a problem with not voting for a particular candidate." Let them play it out because even when we have voted for them, we have no receipts, nothing to show for our vote. We don't have it, and then they'll get mad. But we know that nobody really could get what they want without the Black vote.
That's true. That's very, very true.
We know that.
Yeah. Yep. Even Trump realized he needed the Black vote and he needed that Hispanic vote. So,
Sure.
so I think we just need to value our vote as much as they do. And we don't have nearly the money that they do. We know this.
Yeah.
They got the head start. They got the billions and trillions collectively. But what we do have are votes. And if we pool those votes together, which is what their money is trying to get to, we really could have a voice. You know, I was looking, and we can close out pretty quickly, but I was looking at some independent thinkers, culturally, politically, that have been in the past who may have moved with the Democrats, but they did not necessarily take on the sort of whole persona of I'm a Democrat until I die. And you could tell for some of them by virtue of how they approach social justice. And everybody loves Prince, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Prince would call you out in a minute. And Prince has some.
He was an independent.
Prince, music lesson, rejected both parties, politics and corporate control, fought for ownership of his own art and embodied self-determination.
And I can see that.
That's who we are. That's
Yes.
who the Black independent is. He represents exactly what we're suggesting that we move to. Mm-hmm. So he took control of his own art and his own sense of who he was, his own self-determination. So he rejected both party politics and corporate control. All right. Then there was the famous Tupac Shakur. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves Tupac. I don't know if everybody loved Tupac when he was alive, but everybody everybody
loved him when he was alive, and his mom. Yes.
So he was a rapper activist who openly critiqued both the Democrats and the Republicans for what? Failing the Black community.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. Your examples are out there. They are some of your heroes, and yet you hang on to the Democratic Party as if we have no other option. Mm-hmm. Nina Simone, artist activist who used music as protest, rejecting establishment politics. You got Bob Marley, you got Ice Cube, and come on, just go.
All the people you name, and I could really see them, and those are all people I really connect and align with.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle. Come on. Yeah. When Dave Chappelle gets up and talks, I'm like, oh God, what is he gonna say? What is he gonna say? And he's not afraid to say it. So he does identify as independent. And he uses satire to critique both parties. He's not afraid to do it.
Right.
That's one of the things that you're going to have to get over your fear.
Hey, that's what being a man, having a backbone and walking straight up.
Right. But then you had Malcolm X, Cornel West. You know, I used to get mad at when I was Democrat. I used to get mad at Cornel West. Like, man, What are you doing? I understand, Mr. Cornel West, what you were doing. You got Tavis Smiley, Charlemagne the God, and Angela Davis. These are commentators and real thinkers out there.
Now, the only person I would disagree with is Charlemagne the God.
Why would you disagree with that?
I
think he demonstrates that. Although I don't necessarily like the way that his commentary.
And I don't know much of it. I just know that he's a podcaster. So I don't really think I can't say. I guess he could talk to his followers, but yeah, I'm not really a big fan. And I just really
you don't have to be a big fan, and that's the thing.
I just really start following him too. I didn't really even know who the Breakfast Club was until the election, right?
Yeah.
When he probably under Hillary, when he interviewed Hillary, is when I kind of and then I didn't really go back to it until Biden. Yeah, I don't know. So he's just not, but all of the other people, hey, I feel them, I connect with them.
Yeah. So, and then you got, okay, to what you just said, we're not going to necessarily like all the people who come into the Democratic Party, but we got to figure out how to move together. All right.
Well, right. No, but here's what I think. Whereas I believed, I don't know now, I could have thought then he was more of an opportunist. If he got paid to say or do certain things.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, where I believe he was at one time.
Yeah.
It could be, I'm not sure. But these
I think he's still there. He's still there.
Genuine and really do believe in the fight for the Black community.
Yeah, I think he is still there. I would go with the opportunist description as well. So I think he's
that's
still
why
there.
I have a problem with him.
But he's not married to either party. He's going to find the opportunity, and he's going to.
That's why I'm saying he could probably too be bought to go with. Because at one point he was pushing Trump. I don't know if he was pushing him.
I don't know. Yeah,
he was saying we need to give him a chance.
Yeah. He reminds me of Joe Rogan.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't trust them.
Right, and that's what I'm saying about him.
Yeah. As soon as you said it, was like, she's going. Yeah, that's the white of who he is. They are opportunists,
and it could be because he's in that corporate role where he needs to make. Although Prince was too, but he wants to make everybody happy.
Yeah, because somebody's paying him. White guys are paying the bill.
He cannot really be his.
That's correct. That's correct. Which is what the Boulets have. We got,
and that's why he do not need to be talking about politics in any way. So, yes.
Yeah. And then political figures. You got Frederick Douglass, the once Republican line. Now, on that issue, and this is what I think we miss so much. For the times that he was in, he was Republican. And so we're all Black people, and even Martin Luther King, Republican is what they were listed as, because that's what Black people were until the civil rights.
Slavery, that's just what we were. Yes,
right, because Lincoln, right. Yeah. So, and that was the radical party that was for change. And then after the Civil War, when the Democrat passed the Civil Rights Act, those Dixiecrats said, "I'm getting the hell out of here," and the Republicans wanted to win the South. So if you don't know the Southern strategy, that's something you need to look up. You need to have a better understanding of why those parties shifted. You got Colin Powell before he passed away. Of course, he was behind Obama, but he moved to independent, I understand. Shirley Chisholm was a Democrat. She ran for president, first woman Black to run for president. And of course, if you're running, you kind of go under one of the parties so that you can get their support. But she was actually living life as an independent and empowerment for both women and the last one. And I'm not a fan of Kanye West, but
he's another one. No, yeah.
So you're going to find some of these young men that are taking money from white corporate, what have you, that are wishy-washy. And
Right.
so these are some, but I guess the point I wanted to make is for Black Independent, there's a lot of folks out there that are already independent. You just don't know it.
Sure.
You do not know how many people have are not loyal to the Democratic Party. It seems that Black people are. I think that the move that Black people need to make right now is to visibly show in the records a movement.
Mm-hmm.
You're not marching, but you are moving differently, and you're moving to the independent party, and that we start some kind of what is it? Hashtag Black Independent on everything that we write, and we start coming together virtually and everywhere else.
So listen, our marching and protest is going to have to be different. It is no longer going to be in the streets, and it could be just what you just said. Let's just say, let's pick not Monday, but let's say next Monday. What's the date? And we all decide to pick a date, just locally.
All right. So tomorrow, Monday is September 1st, right?
Yeah, but that's Labor Day, so we don't want to do it that day. But
do what? Do what exactly? What's your thing?
We all just move from the Democratic Party as a group, and not all, but because some just isn't going to do it. But those who want to, next Monday, not this Monday, the following Monday, should be what the
so
8th?
Why don't we do this? Okay, why don't we do this?
Something like that.
Yeah, why don't we do this? Because it took me forever to get it right and to move into the independent party. I said it one day, and it was a whole month later before I actually saw it recorded in the supervisor of elections office. So Monday's the 1st, and if we can go to the 15th, which is the middle of the month, I'm going to check the numbers of independent and Democrat and Republican. And then I'm going to check it again on the 15th. And then I'm going to check it again on the 29th. Perfect. And then I want to report back. So Monday is Labor Day. It's the 1st. I'll check again. Hopefully you guys will be moving, joining the protest and moving from from Democrat to independent, Black independent. And then on the 15th, or Republican. Yeah. Or Republican. And you know what? And thanks for saying that, because there's MAGA Republican and then there's Republican. And I truly believe that those that are Republicans that are kind of in no man's land right now need to land in the independent column, Black independent column. Sure. But, I think whites need to move into the independent column as well, because I don't know if and we can talk about this at some point, they are beginning to realize, and when you see that Joy Reid thing, beginning to realize that they have been used as a tool to keep white rich people rich.
Well, one thing I noticed, like the Cheneys, they left the Republican Party, not necessarily want to, and this is where Biden kind of failed, or not Biden, Harris kind of failed, trying to get that group of people who was never going to really come over to the Democratic Party. Now, those people did go to independent, but they probably just didn't vote for the president, but they probably still voted Republican down ballot, but they could not vote for Trump. Because
that's true.
About 2016, before 2016, all the Republicans that we grew up with, where are they?
True. So I don't know to answer your question, but I will say that real quick fact, Elon Musk, who was going to start the America First Party, is no longer going to do that. He now sees that Trump is becoming ill and he's ponying up to JD Vance now. He no longer wants to create a party he wants to now become a part of whatever's going on with JD Vance and Peter Thiel and those guys, because he wants to run the country. Two South African billionaires are going to, who put JD Vance in the vice president seat, realize that they have just hit the jackpot, because Trump is looking like they're going to move him out of the way pretty soon. JD Vance will ascend to the presidency, and those two, but mainly Peter Thiel, will run the country. And they are,
I say they're running the country anyway. Trump isn't really coming up with these ideas. Trump isn't smart enough.
well, it's official right now. Trump is in their way, and they're going to move him out of the way. So closing thoughts. So they can paint over those murals. Okay, your final thought. You got a thought?
I don't. Look, we got to make a movement. I just think we need to make a movement. We realize now that we're gonna have to paint something new moving forward. We're gonna have to paint a new path for us.
Ooh,
and that new path is
figurative. I love that.
Yeah. That new path is gonna have to start. And I'm going to
like Molly said, we're going to have to paint our own path. Yeah. And so they can paint over the murals. They can edit the museum exhibits. They can do whatever it is that they want to do, but they can't erase why those things existed in the first place. That's our history. That's something that we can continuously talk about. They can ban our books, but they can't really silence our voices. That's up to us. Every act of removal is a reminder of how much work is left to do. There's a lot of work left, you guys. The question is, will we allow others to define our story, or will we take ownership and make sure our history stays alive in the streets, in our schools, and in the hearts of our people? It's up to us.
So, Jeanette, I want to remind the people, for those of you who receive your mail-in ballots, let's fill them out and send them in. All you have to do is sign the back of it and date it, put it in the mailbox. It's a prepaid stamp, I think. And early election starts September the 4th, next Thursday. This Thursday coming up.
This Thursday for that special election in District 5.
Special election in District 5. And of course, you guys probably know who, should I say our candidate or my candidate? She's definitely my candidate.
Okay. If I were living in District 5, that's who I would be voting for. And that is who I'm encouraging people in District 5, vote for Allison Hewitt.
Yes. Allison Hewitt, not because she will do it, it's because she is already doing it. She is already doing it.
Your whole, and
I'm going to tie that back to, for those, because they said it was like 2 million people that didn't vote in the president election, and then so many people voted for Trump. But look where we at. Now we have Trump. Crazy. Now we're going to deal with it, and we can't have any. Look, we got about 15, 16 months left on the District 5.
Yep.
We don't want to be complaining. We need Allison Hewitt. It's just about the line.
We've got some.
Oh, look, Moses is supporting Allison. Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right, Moses.
We are signing out.